This book is so not for the children. Mm-mm. And that cover, mm, I kind of want to get it for my office. Hey everyone, Professor August here, and today I will be talking about this book called Softcore by Brittany Newell. It was published in 2025. I randomly came across this book because a friend mentioned it over dinner one day, and I thought that's an interesting title for a book. And then I looked at the cover and thought that's an interesting cover. I kind of want that on my shelf. And so I read through the synopsis and I just got hooked. I mean, it's a book about a sex worker whose boyfriend goes missing, and then she tries to find him. I thought, okay, this is a mystery. I'm gonna love it. So I picked it up, and boy, was it so not what I thought it was gonna be. It's not like it's steamy, but it's not like gross or anything. And there's nothing vile in it. I don't know. Like I'm not a big fan of the gray. What is it? 50 Shades of Grey type stuff. And there's not a whole lot of that in here, but uh, it's just really sensual, and I think that's what made me kind of love this book. My God, it's really good. This book is about a protagonist named Ruth, but she goes by Baby. So Ruth is in her late 20s. I think she's 27 years old, and she has a master's degree. And the whole book follows her life in San Francisco as a stripper and then later as a dominatrix in somebody's house, who, like a madam who's running like a dungeon out of her home, which was like very echoey of Desperate Housewives from like 20 years ago. Um, so early on in the book, her ex boyfriend, who she's living with, his name is Dino, he disappears. And then we spend the rest of the book with Baby going to work and then navigating her, I don't know, lonely existence. She kind of tries to come to terms with the fact that Dino is gone, and she made a promise to him that she wouldn't call the police if ever anything ever happened to him because of his line of work. He sells drugs, and so she had already made that promise to him. When he disappears, he leaves behind his dogs, and she stays in his apartment. And so she spends most of the book just trying to seek him out, trying to find him, but she doesn't do a whole lot of like sleuthing to find him. Um, Really, the whole book is about love and her realization that her entire life really did revolve around him and how much she enjoyed being with him, and she didn't realize how much she loved him until he disappeared. So um, it's actually really interesting the way that this is done, because we're introduced to a series of other characters other than the protagonist, but really it's her going through her day-to-day life trying to experience reality when her own reality is kind of falling apart. So that was a really cool way to explain San Francisco, but also the interiority of this character. Baby is the main character of the book. Her real name is Ruth, and it's interesting because Ruth is like the grad student, and she's like the demure, quiet one. And then her alter ego, I wouldn't even say that because we don't really get to meet Ruth. We really are only dealing with Baby, who is a sex worker. So during grad school, she has a John named Simon, and Simon basically just pays her to do absolutely nothing. Like he just sends her money at the top of every month, which I'm like, okay, if anybody wants to send me money for doing nothing, will willingly take your money. So she, after she finishes grad school, she becomes a stripper at a strip club, and we meet some of the other characters. And then um, after her ex-boyfriend Dino disappears, she also starts to work as a dominatrix. So she's actually a really well-rounded character because there's a lot of interiority with this character. She's super self-reflective. She thinks a lot about what she's doing and the life that she's leading, the things that she's doing with people. She's reflective about like what it means to her body and to herself, and focuses a lot on issues of like intimacy, so love and how she feels about love towards her clients, but also her ex-boyfriend. So the character of Ruth, or Baby, is just incredible. One of the girls at the strip club is named Emmeline, and that's the other character that she focuses on at the strip club. Emmeline is interesting. She's kind of like young, and it seems like her life is pretty good, but the strip club is her only, I don't know, her outlets, and she seems kind of clingy. There's actually a connection between her and Baby, which I'm not going to spoil for anybody, but that was an interesting one. Dino is the other kind of main character. So Dino is Baby's ex-boyfriend. They live together. They seem to have a really cordial relationship early on in the book because they treat each other well. They seem to have like great affinity for one another as best friends. But he goes missing, and because he's a drug dealer, he had told Baby never to call the police if he ever goes missing. And so throughout the rest of the book, she basically spends her time trying to navigate whether he chose to leave or whether he was taken. And that's what the book is, like her trying to figure it out. And the cool thing is it turns kind of psychological because we see her having like hallucinations of him everywhere, and you really, as the reader, I could not tell who was actually Dino and like whether Dino was real or not. And it's there's like a lot of twisty stuff in here, with what happens with Dino and the way that Baby deals with it. We're also introduced to a couple of other characters. These are Baby's clients. So Simon is the one who just kind of like pays her for doing nothing. Charlie is an interesting one. He appears more than some of the other clients. He's like a married guy who has a family. And then I think the one that kind of sends Baby into a tailspin is a guy she doesn't actually meet. She only has email correspondence with him, and his name is Nobody. So we don't actually get a character name for him. He is obsessed with suicide and wants to sort of play act that part of it, like the end of his life with her. And so she's really intrigued by this, and we get these long correspondences between the two of them. Really fascinating stuff. But again, all of this kind of feeds into the interiority of the character of Baby. So we sort of see her spinning out, and once Dino disappears, her life kind of just spirals. She goes to work, she goes home, she drinks a lot, but it's just a matter of like what's happening inside of her head because she can't figure out what's real and what's not real. Super well done. This book is really easy to get through because the story is so just it propels you forward. There were no parts of the book where I thought like this is dragging. It's going on and on for no reason. There's like it just keeps going forward and forward and forward, and it's really interesting to see how Baby navigates her life in San Francisco. Because I live in the Bay Area, it was really interesting to have a book set in San Francisco that wasn't about like the tech industry. So it's just about like normal life in San Francisco, and it's a very sexualized place, and the character makes it uh, seem appealing. I mean, it is an appealing place. So, despite what the media says, San Francisco itself kind of seems like a character in the book because we get a lot of, what the city is like, what it's like during the daytime, especially what it's like during the nighttime. So yeah, it's actually really easy to get through. The only like downside, it's not even a downside. There are few chapters in this book. So each chapter is really, really long. And so I found myself having to find spots to be able to stop to go do, I don't know, like feed the cat or something. So it's just shy of 300 pages. And I don't know, I think I counted like 8 chapters or 7 chapters. Let me just double check to make sure. This is how like these chapters are so long. It's actually really hard to find. Yeah, I think there's only like 5 or 6 chapters. So the fact that it's a long book, well, it's not that long, it's like 300 pages, but it's 300 pages with only like 5 or 6 chapters. So that part of it was a little hard just because I couldn't put the book down and I wanted to see what was happening. But other than that, it's actually a really easy book to get through. I love the themes. I love the characters. I love the way that the plot, there were just like twist after twist with the character, and I never actually could figure out where the book was going, which is really cool. And I don't think I actually like it wasn't until towards the very end of it that I realized what the point of the book was, and I really enjoyed it. So if you're interested in getting a copy of it, the publisher's information is in the description box, and let me know what you guys think. All right, bye. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe below. Catch you in the next video.